Looks like Junior Leo is first up. Junior, go ahead and unmute your mic and tell us where you're logging in from.
Hey, God bless everyone. I'm logging in from Virginia. I was going to say Maryland, but I moved to Virginia now.
Yeah. Junior recently got married. What's it been, a couple months?
Yep.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, it's going well.
Man, I was in Virginia a few weeks ago and I had a meal with Junior and his wife. Yeah.
It was great. It was a great fellowship.
Yeah.
So my question. So I was listening, all last week and yesterday I was listening to your eschatology series, and I just finished this part 2 of the millennium, where you were going verse by verse in chapter 20, but there was this one part that you did not speak much of, or I probably missed it. And my question is on chapter 20, verse 4. And the question is, who is this they that John is speaking of, and who are the souls he is speaking of that was beheaded? So the they that satted, and they sat on them and judgment was committed to them. Who is this they that John is speaking of?
These apparently are deceased Christians in heaven, because he doesn't say who they are, but he does distinguish a particular group among them, and that's the souls of those who were beheaded for their testimony. So if you see souls, that means they're not in their bodies. Now, if they were living at this present time, they'd be in their bodies. Or if they were living after the resurrection, they would be in their bodies. So the only time that disembodied souls would exist would be after these people had died, but before they had resurrected. So this is before the resurrection. You read about the resurrection, in the later verses of that chapter. And so this is a vision of saints in heaven reigning with Christ. Now, that's in contrast to the premillennial view, which holds that this is describing people reigning on earth for 1,000 years after Jesus has come back. But chapter 20 doesn't mention anything about Jesus having come back. It doesn't mention Jesus being on earth. And these persons certainly can't be on earth because he sees their souls rather than their bodies. Nobody lives on earth without their bodies. So they are apparently in heaven after they died.
So I guess the specific question is it the souls of the church, that the New Testament, a group of people, or is it all of us? In what you said in your explanation, the millennium is into this church age, all of us.
I think that since he doesn't specify who they are, he says, and they reigned and they sat and reigned, and he said, and I saw the souls of those who were martyred. I think though he doesn't identify who they are, they must be in the general same category as the souls of the martyrs. I would say it's the souls of Christians who weren't martyred, but who died, So that would be, I believe, all Christians of all of the whole age of the church. I think what he is saying is, after our loved ones are gone, after believers have died, we don't see them anymore, but he saw them. He saw them. They're in heaven with Christ, and they're enthroned with Christ because they have overcome, and they are now reigning with him in heaven.
20 minutes later.
Next up, we got Junior. Junior, go ahead and unmute your mic and let us know where you're logging in from.
Hey, this is Junior. I'm logging in from Virginia.
You're still in Virginia.
I'm still in Virginia. So I'm still having a bit of a trouble with the verse 4. And here is the trouble. It says, I'm not going to read the whole verse, but it says, and I saw a throne and they sat on them, etc. And then after that sentence, he says, then I saw the souls of those, and so etc. and etc. So it seems as though he sees two group of people, or spirit, or souls.
Okay. Mhm.
So I know you say that the author did not really identify who they are, but I would like to understand, like, what theory do you have, or is this one of those things that we may not ever know?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think that they who sat on thrones would be all those who had died faithfully in the Lord. And he mentioned specifically those who had been martyred. He saw them too. Those who had been beheaded, he saw them also. But I don't think he's saying different things about them. I think he's saying he saw thrones and they were inhabited thrones. Among those that he saw sitting on them included those who had been, martyred for Christ. But I would assume that those who are not included in that group, but are nonetheless on thrones, would probably be people who died faithful, but didn't happen to be martyred. The souls of the saved. That's what I think he sees.
So are you saying that then I saw the souls is not really what it's saying, like then, and then like another scene? Or is he saying I also saw?
Right. I would take it the second way. Yeah.
I also saw. Okay.
I don't think, it's possible that he secondarily noticed that the martyrs were among them. Then I saw that, but I don't think it's time. I don't think it's a separate scene. I don't think he's seeing something different now when he sees the souls that are martyrs.
All right, it's beginning to make more sense now. Since I'm still in the, I don't want to waste this with a very quick answer. I guess I would like to quickly ask, what is Gog and Magog? And I will reset my queue.
Gog and Magog are mentioned in Revelation 20, but they're probably not the same entity that are called Gog, the chief prince of Magog, in Ezekiel 38 and 39. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, one of the popular assumptions is that Gog refers to Russia, but I don't necessarily think that's likely. And I would suggest that's a lengthy exegesis of that passage that would require, and I do have lectures on Ezekiel 38 and 39, but I personally think that Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal and Magog in Ezekiel, refers to some army that came against Israel shortly after they returned from Babylon. And one theory is that it's referring to Antiochus Epiphanes. Another theory is it's referring to Haman in the book of Esther, who tried to destroy the Jews, but that God rescued them in a powerful way. Now, Revelation, when it brings up images from the Old Testament, it expects you to remember them in the Old Testament, but it's not using them the same way. For example, in chapter 11, the two witnesses are called the two olive trees that stand before the Lord of all the earth. Well, as Logan said earlier, in Zechariah chapter 4, we see the two olive trees, who are the two anointed ones, and that probably refers to, at least most commentators think it refers to Zerubbabel and Joshua, the governor and the high priest among the Jews after the exile. But when it says that the two witnesses are the two olive trees, it's taking that imagery from the Old Testament, but not making it the same identity. What Revelation does is it takes hundreds of images from the Old Testament and puts them into a new setting. But by saying that Gog and Magog come against the beloved city in Revelation 20, I think it's simply likening it to Gog in the Old Testament coming against Jerusalem or against the Jews. That this is the new Jerusalem now is being attacked by hostile forces who are called Gog and Magog in order to say this is similar to what you read about in Ezekiel. You see, when in Revelation 11:8, it says that the two witnesses' bodies lie in the streets of the city that is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. Now, our Lord was crucified in Jerusalem, but Revelation is calling it Sodom and Egypt. Why? Because Sodom and Egypt were judged by God as wicked societies, and God was judging Jerusalem as a similar wicked society. And in fact, Revelation will use fire and brimstone many times as the means of describing judgment, which is what happened to Sodom. Sodom was destroyed by fire and brimstone, but no other society, as far as we know, was. It's using imagery from the story of Sodom and Gomorrah to liken it in principle to the destruction of that city that is spiritually called Sodom. And likewise, the plagues in Revelation resemble the plagues in Exodus, which came upon Egypt when God judged it. So, Jerusalem in Revelation is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt because it's become as corrupt as they were. And then the judgments on Jerusalem are symbolically described as, having the same features as the destruction of Sodom, as fire and brimstone, and also of the plagues on Egypt, though that was not literally what happened to Jerusalem. Likewise, the persecution against the saints in Revelation 20 is likened to the persecution of the Jews in Ezekiel 38. And so Gog is the villain in those chapters in Ezekiel. So Gog becomes the name for the villainous conspiracy against the church in the end of Revelation. So it's, we have to be careful when we see the same words in Revelation that come from some prophecy in the Old Testament, and have to realize the way that Revelation is using that imagery, it's making a comparison, but it's the similarity is more in principle than in reality. It's not really the case that Jerusalem was destroyed with fire and brimstone, but Sodom was. And since Jerusalem is likened to Sodom, its judgment is likened to the terms of Sodom's judgment and so forth. So, I mean, Revelation's a complicated book to expound, but Revelation 20 does bring in imagery from Ezekiel 38 and 39, but I don't believe it's talking about the same God there.